showing that you care about making sure that this product continues to bring value to the homeowner. 2, gives you an opportunity to say, hey, what does this homeowner need? They didn't do fall cleanup. Maybe we could do a spring cleanup for them.
Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a 7-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hello, everybody. And this week we have Lee Beecher on from Bold Lighting. And today we're going to talk about the top 3 landscape lighting secrets that no one has told you. Our big takeaways today are why you should add lighting to your design, even if your customers didn't ask for it. Also, how to get your clients' jaws to drop with this simple lighting trick. Lee's got this one trick that's going to make it happen every time. And how to get referrals after your lighting project has been completed. So Lee, welcome to the show.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was excited to have you on the show. I know you guys are doing some big stuff over at Bold Lighting, and I'd love for you to share some of your, different thoughts around landscape lighting. I know as a designer, I've been using landscape lighting since I first found out about it. I'm thinking like, who actually goes out in their backyard after they spend all this money and doesn't want to use it at night? I mean, seriously, every party goes into the dark, right? And to have big spotlights on them, blinding you and all that, like, why the hell would you do that? So I know we first started with low voltage landscape lighting many years ago and have been through many different brands, good, bad, and the ugly. And realize that today, like, we don't do a project without a landscape lighting package on it. It just, people don't take that part out. They're like, they don't want flashlights in their backyard after spending 6 figures, right? So yeah, I'd love for you to get into with us a little bit and talk about why we should be adding lights, even if our customers don't ask for them.
Absolutely. So I think the key point is, and you mentioned it, we're spending tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on an outdoor living area, right? And to only be able to use it a part of the time, it's kind of ridiculous, right? The nightlife industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And if we can put some of that money back in our customers' pockets by allowing them to enjoy their area well into the night, they don't have to leave home. They don't have to go out and spend money at expensive night places. But that's the biggest thing for us, is just creating the value in that area that we're building for our customers by allowing them to use it well into the night. And as you mentioned, a lot of the things that our clients struggle with, the contractor side, they struggle with is making it that non-negotiable, right? Making it something that I don't do a project for you, Mrs. Jones, unless it has lighting in it. I'm not going to give you something that is lackluster in value because you can only see it when the sun's out. You can only enjoy it in the daytime. You wouldn't, I say it all the time, you wouldn't finish your basement without lights in it, right? An outdoor living space is an extension of your home. It's basically an exterior room. Some of them have even an interior room on them, right? The structures that are coming out these days are getting pretty wild. So why not light them up with a system that comes on to allow you to use it? And I say, making it that non-negotiable is, instead of putting that line item on your invoice or your estimate to that customer, because we all know you put that line item on there, they're going to see that as the first thing they can cut a little bit of cost with, right? Throw a little bit more money back in their pocket. Or maybe they don't, I've got that back porch light, that's enough to illuminate my backyard. It's like, but is it? Because it's not really doing the area justice to just have a glow from the building out across your backyard that 20 feet away. It's really not that bright, right? Maybe your fire pit's out there 20, 30 feet and you can't see to walk around it comfortably at night unless there's a fire in it that's blazing high. So really just making it part of the project where you state to the customer, look, I know we didn't discuss lighting, but I always put lighting in my project to some extent. I'll give you the good, better, and best packages, but we are going to have at least a transformer, at least a couple step lights in there. And if you want to take the value and grow it from there, I'm more than happy to do so and show you the values to it. Bringing the value to the customer is going to be the biggest key part in making sure that sale and the value of that project go up for you. Also,
100%.
Showing them the on and off switch, right? The before and after, whenever you do a design, being able to hit that button and show the design pop on with lights creates that emotion for our contractors to push to the homeowner. It's like, oh, wow, like does make a big difference. And a lot of homeowners, seeing is believing. If they don't see it with lights, they're never going to think of what they could have. So I always like to use the can you imagines, or, think of how this would feel, right? And create that sense of emotion and urgency for the value of how to bring that to them, and really show them the aha moments. And that's the biggest thing that we see a lot of guys switching over to making it, because once you have 3 cap lights in there and a transformer, adding on the path lights or the spotlights to illuminate the softscapes and the trees that you planted around the area, or some of the structures, water features, it comes a lot easier. I don't have to tear up half the patio to add lights back into it then, and make the cost 10 times more than what it should be just to add some fixtures in. So if you set that precedence from the beginning that, I don't do a project that is below value because of this, they bring a lot more understanding to it. And the other side of it is, when you show them what the bill could be to do lights later, and not from the initial jump of the project, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes a lot more sense too.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Now, what we found very effective is, and I love the analogy of you wouldn't finish your basement without lights. Like you wouldn't build a car without headlights, right? Like you're going to use this thing at night, so it's
Yeah.
important.
Yep.
It's always that, customers, humans in general, are always thinking and processing through one filter, one question: what's in it for me? So I'm going to spend all this extra money on lights. What's in it for me? What do I get? So what they get is the opportunity to be invited out into their backyard. That's how we like to say it, right? The invitation. If you're inside your house and it's this time of year, it's December and it's dark out there at 5 o'clock here in Pennsylvania, and you look out and it's just inky blackness, like there's nothing warms your soul. There's nothing out there to look at. It's just dark, dreary, and possibly even putting you into a depressive state. Where we have the opportunity to invest in these lights, you don't just get the function and the safety from them, different elevations and all that, but you also get something gorgeous to look at, even when you're not out using it, something to draw you outside. Now you can see how that question, what's in it for me, all of a sudden becomes very clear. So lighting is very important, and it's something that, and I'm not just saying this because you're on here, I'm saying it in general, it's been part of our design philosophy forever. Every project has lighting in it, and 99.9% of the time it is left in there. Now we do have it as a separate line item, but it's so they can see its value. Worst case, it's the next phase, but they will get lights. Because without it, you might as well do nothing back there, because it's not going to be pulled out. So, but I appreciate that approach, because it's so true. People don't know, customers don't know what they're missing if they've never seen it. So if you do have design software where you can turn the lights off and on, then sure, then people can see it. But if you don't, they're just like, well, that's another expense, man. This is already tight. The patio is pretty big. Like, I don't know. And then they get there, then they get to hold the patio, and they're like, wow, XYZ Landscaping did a great job, but I can't use it at night. And then all of a sudden you get a bad rap because you didn't at least bring it to their attention.
Yeah. And that's the key point. And, I feel as a contractor, I'm doing you a disservice without adding this in there, right? I'm trying to bring value to you. And I think most homeowners respect that statement whenever you play it to them in that fashion. And that's ultimately what it is. There's no lie behind that, right? You're bringing them every bang for their buck they could possibly have by adding lights in.
That's exactly right. And how much more use they get, especially with different elevational changes. I'll never forget one time when my grandmother, she was, I would say, in her late 60s, and she had a hard time walking at times. And there was one step in a walkway coming out of my parents' house, and the landscape lighting, for whatever reason, didn't turn on that night. And she walked out and fell. And she got hurt. And it wasn't horrible or serious, but she dinged herself up pretty good from one step. And she's like, why is there a step in the middle of this walkway? And I'm like, I designed the space. I put it there because we needed to change elevation. But and we're young, around the house, kids and younger parents, it's like, we don't even think twice about it. But the elders coming through, they need those things. They need to have those spaces illuminated, especially the change in elevations from a safety first perspective. And that really made me, after that, we put a light right there and that thing was always on, right? But you don't want your customers to find that out when their mothers, grandmothers, aunts, or whatever come over and get hurt and break something, all because we wanted to save them some money. That's the problem.
Well, and that's a key point too, is safety and security, right? I don't know how many homes you go by now that have the Ring cameras or the Ring doorbell and stuff, and they have night vision on them, but that night vision still only reaches so far. When you have the ability to illuminate more of their property, it's going to create that sense of security. They can see more things at night. There's more of a visual throughout the entire property. And then also, just as you mentioned, safety is a huge thing. Elderly family members is a really key point in that. Everybody has them. Everybody is worried for their safety in those moments. And then also on the sense of it, the kids like to go out and collect lightning bugs or just play in the dark sometimes at night out off the edge of the patio, and being able to illuminate things. And, to get into our next point, a good segue is focus on those areas that you can really illuminate the edge of the living space, because you don't want, your kids running around and tripping off the edge of the patio just the same, or falling into the pool because
Yeah.
they can't see where the edge of it is, right? There's a lot of different aspects that you can really focus on in a landscape. And that's one thing we always bring up is focus, focus, focus. There's many ways you can use focus in the lighting industry, whether it be highlighting those key points, or even on the flip side of that, hiding things that you don't want to see, right? Whether it's the pool pump, or, just an area, maybe a compost area of the yard when you have an outdoor garden. You can take lights and you can illuminate the things that you really want to showcase in that outdoor living space. And then you can take the absence of light and make it a dark area where maybe you don't want people to kind of congregate, or you don't want to put focus on. And it allows you to really bring those aspects to life, so that at night, sometimes you can even make a yard a little more fulfilling at night by hiding some things that you don't want to see, right?
Yeah. And I love that perspective, because when I first started designing with light, it was kind of new to me. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I just bought some lights and played with them at night. And that was back when we had incandescent, not LED, right? So they got really hot and you had to put a lot of lines in the ground. Thank
Right.
God that's changed. But anyway, I remember going out and thinking like, well, what's cool about painting with light or using lights is if it's all inky darkness and you want to highlight one big centered tree, say a focal point, you just put light on that tree. We had a project once where the homeowners had this massive, gorgeous, perfect oak tree, just massive. And they were right next to a cornfield, and it was the only tree in the backyard. And we went out there and we dropped at least 8 well lights underneath that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
from the house, it was such a gorgeous, all the architecture, the branches lit up and shadowed. But it was the only thing we lit at a distance. So it was like this tree of life, if you will, like this massive tree. We put a little swing underneath it and it drew you out there. But
Right.
we chose not to light anything in the distance other than that. So that was the only thing we look at. So with light, you choose what you see at night. So if it is something you don't want to see, you just don't light it, right? That's really the cool part about it. So,
Absolutely.
I love that idea of laying that out, and even the periphery of the property. I love going along the edge of the property and shooting up if you have trees, and kind of giving you a definition of where our area ends, like by hitting
Yep.
some big trees with that, or even shooting light out of the trees down to the ground for some moonlighting. There's just so many cool things you can do with light. I love working with light.
100%. And, I think that's one other aspect of lighting design that kind of goes overlooked. I think back, we had a customer up in South New Hampshire, maybe North Massachusetts area, where they were in kind of a mountainous region. They had a backyard that was fenced in, had a nice little pool, some cool little features in it, a little turf area, but there was woods right tight all around the back of their fence. And we were looking at it. They had a ton of lights in the backyard, so it made the backyard glow, but everything beyond that was very, very dark and very ominous, right? So it kind of still made the
Yeah.
backyard feel small. And just a quick add of a
Mhm.
couple spotlights to give it a bit of a backdrop back into the woods, it allowed that area to open up and feel a lot larger at night than what it even really was, because it gave you that backdrop and that kind of open feeling to the backyard then, which was really cool. And that's another way that, focusing your lights and going back and doing those night focuses after you install them. Because, you think about it, we as contractors, we're there working from sun up to sundown. We don't normally spend a ton of time there in the evening, which is one key point with lights, is make sure you go back and do your night focusing, because what you think might be aimed perfect in the daylight might look totally
Mhm.
different
Yep.
in the evenings. So going back and just doing that, it takes 20 minutes to run across the project, and just do a little bit of adjustment here and there, and allowing those things to truly be illuminated the best way possible. It's also going to give you that touch point with the customer that, wow, XYZ Landscaping really cares about what they do, that they came back after dark to make sure that everything looked as perfect as it possibly could. And it's just that one more star on the
Yep.
review, right?
100%, dude. And plus you can go through and check all your light temperatures too. Because even though they're shipped to you as, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 degree light, 4,000 degree light, all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, that one looks a lot more yellow and the rest look a lot more white. Or maybe that's done on purpose and you got them in the wrong spot. So, because some trees, they look better, or even houses look better with white versus yellow light. So it's so many cool things you can do with light. And that's certainly expands it. I know my wife and I, around Christmas time, I put up Christmas lights, and she gets on my case because I like to leave all my light. I got like 100 lights around the house. And I was like, I love the whole thing lit up. I just love it. Right. I'm the only one in my area that has it, but it's like you come up to the house and there's just something like, where to park. There's enough ambient light to move around. But then I hang the Christmas lights. She's like, will you shut those other lights off so I can see the Christmas lights? And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to shut them off. I want to leave them on because they look nice together. She just looks at me like, all right, for the holidays, I'll shut them off. But they're going right back on afterwards.
Yeah. So. Well, and this day and age, right? The smart lights that are coming out allow us to, and as a husband that hangs the lights myself, it's nice to be able to not have to hang as many lights if we can color change, or we can do different things with the lights to make them holiday effective, right? And having year-round lights that you have the ability to do maybe just a quick change of the color takes a little bit more on the family enjoyment side rather than the outside installing side. So.
Yeah, that's true. Now, in my case here, my wife only likes white lights. She doesn't like colored lights. That's just a thing, right? So if that's the case, that wouldn't work for us, but it would work for a lot of people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's good stuff. So next, how do we get referrals after we've done the lighting project? Like, lights are in, everything's working, we tested them, everything's good. How do we consistently get that from our clients?
One big overlooked area in the lighting industry, and we are starting to do it a lot more on the hardscape side, is maintenance packages, right? You come back after a year, after 2 years for the hardscape side, and you reseal or you resand. You do a lot of things to clean up, maybe scrub some fall foliage stains off the pavers or some party stains off the pavers, things like that. But what about the lights, right? So we preach to our contractors, a lighting maintenance package is very, very small total. It could be $100 a year. It could be less than that, really, because what you get out of that investment from a customer is tenfold, because you're coming out there, you're maybe pushing a couple lights back in the ground that got pushed up from freeze thaw in the winter, or the dog accidentally knocked a couple lights over, the homeowner didn't notice. Or even just noticing that, hey, this customer didn't do a fall cleanup and there's a lot of leaves around this fixture, right? It's kind of shadowed because of the leaves and foliage that have laid there all winter long. So it gives you a touch point of coming out, one, showing that you care about making sure that this product continues to bring value to the homeowner. Two, gives you an opportunity to say, hey, what does this homeowner need? They didn't do fall cleanup. Maybe we could do a spring cleanup for them. Looks like they're ready for new mulch. Maybe these plants need trimmed. But then also you can see an area where, hey, Miss Jones, we did this part of the project last year. You had mentioned maybe wanting to re-illuminate this area over here or the front of the house because we focused only on the back. You think you're ready to do that? And then on top of that, networking through the community, because I can't tell you, a lot of my contractors, they'll go back, they don't park in the driveway. They park out on the road so that everybody that drives by sees that truck. They see that company there. And then they get to asking questions, whether it's to that homeowner, or maybe they come out and see you or the guys on the site and say, hey, what are you up to? And then it allows you to open that conversation to, oh, well, I'm here doing a lighting maintenance package, and you can elaborate on that further, and it might get you a sale next door or down the road. And eventually you're growing through that whole community, and you're adding lights and you're beautifying every property on that block, or some more of the properties on that block that allow you to bring that more revenue in. We talk a lot in the industry, touch points with a customer are something that often go overlooked, and having a lighting maintenance package is a perfect way to add on, another touch point and continued service for those customers.
No, I love that. And it's true, because it's, what happens as soon as the bulb goes out, they call, hey, I need a bulb replaced. And you're like, okay, I got one bulb replaced plus the service fee, all that kind of thing. What if we just did it once a year and went through and tested them all?
Right.
Or went around, made sure they all work, so they don't discover that right before their 4th of July party that they got 3 bulbs out on some of their primary tree they didn't take notice of. So by doing that through your spring package, when you go in there and do all your spring maintenance, you actually do an entire, as part of it, you do a maintenance package for the lighting and check everything to make sure 100% of it's working and that you don't have anything. The thing I love about the new LED systems, dude, is the fact that A, you can daisy chain, all day long, and B, the fact that you can not have to worry about fires. I know back in the days when I was doing incandescent lights where we can only run 192 watts per 12-2 wire, we could only have so many hubs, like the whole hubbing system. We
Yep.
actually had one client where it started a fire. And because
Mhm.
one of the bulbs, it gets so hot and it got covered with mulch. It wasn't us. It wasn't our guys. It was the fact that either an animal dug up in there and put it on top and it started smoldering. Thank God it didn't actually catch the house on fire, but it smoldered through the mulch and started that on fire. And it didn't actually catch the house on fire, but it started melting stuff. So I was just glad that they got under control quick. And that made me to really rethink whether I want to have lighting in as part of our packages, because it's dangerous. But nowadays, with all the LEDs, there's no heat, right? As long as you're getting your joints nice and tight, all the connections, but it's so much safer now and it's so much simpler than it's ever been.
Absolutely, absolutely. Technology has come a long way, right?
Yeah.
And the other side of it
Yeah.
too is the old incandescent systems. They took a lot. They were low voltage, but they still used a lot of energy. Whereas nowadays, the LED systems, speaking for our system specifically, like it's so efficient that it surprises a lot of people with how efficient they run. You can put a lot of lights on a lot smaller system than what you used to use back in the day.
Oh yeah.
A 300-watt
Yeah.
transformer back in the day wasn't very many lights. Nowadays, you can illuminate an entire property on a transformer that size without even blinking an eye at it, and probably still have
Yeah.
room left over to add more down the road.
Yeah. It is beautiful how you can expand like that. So, you know what, Lee, one thing that I always ran into as a designer is everybody pitched me and said, hey, you know what? I got the best lights. Mine are the best. I used to use Unique. I used to use Alliance. I used to use all these different, I've been through just about every brand out there.
Mhm.
And, what I found is they're good for a while. And then after a while, they kind of take a dive off or whatever. So my question to you, listeners out there, they're probably using other brands.
Mhm.
Why the hell would I switch to you guys? Like, what makes you guys so special that's worthy of making the painful change to a new light and learning these new lines and names and changing my invoices, all that stuff? Why you?
Absolutely. So there's a couple points there. We have the kind of the industry standard warranty, but it's not industry standard. We have a 7-year warranty that's bumper to bumper. And the great part about it is all of our fixtures are integrated. There's no drop-in bulbs. Everything is plug and play. All of our fixtures come with their own Cobra connector, which is our patented pending connector. So I can install a fixture that would have used to take me 3 to 5 minutes to cut, splice, wire nut each connection. Now I'm installing all of those fixtures, one, live, because all I have to do is mount my transformer, strip 2 wires, plug them into the transformer, and I can turn that transformer on. As I install my entire system, they're all popping on as I connect the lights. It takes me about 30 seconds per fixture to do a connection with the Cobra connector and then plugging the lead in. And then on top of that, on the troubleshooting aspect, each one of our connectors has its own indicator light. So when I make that connection, this little green indicator light comes on, lets me know, boom, that connection's good to go. And if I have to troubleshoot it, the
Cool.
light's out, I follow it back to the connector and I'm like, oh, the connector light's still green. The fixture's an issue. All right, great. 7-year warranty. If we ran through that troubleshooting process, it's as simple as contacting us here at Bold and we'll get a hold of either your dealer, or if you came straight to us, we'll send you a new fixture out. You can replace it. It's a quick little unplug, plug it back in, set the light in, and you're off to the races. So very efficient installs, very efficient troubleshooting. The service that we provide, we like to think is unsurpassed. So we have a lot of different factors, and we also help along the way. We do designs for guys that don't know how to design with lighting. We have pretty cool little packages where we have a 2D and 3D setup. And then if you buy a certain amount of lights with that, you actually end up getting the designs for free. And then on top of that, our fixture life rating, we have a 50,000-hour LED life rating, which if you do the math at about eight hours roughly average a day, that comes out to about 17 years of lifespan on those fixtures. So with the lifespan like that, a 7-year warranty and the service to back it up, that's why we push Bold. That's why I, as a previous contractor, 8 years ago, Josh, if you'd asked me if I was going to be a sales guy, I'd have probably laughed at you and walked away, right? But as a contractor who installed it, knowing how efficient it is and the ability for me to really create efficiencies throughout my entire company, which is a big thing this day and age, that's why I'm here, because I actually believe in it. I know the value it can bring to a contractor and to the homeowner. So being able to sell something and push something that I believe in, and it actually brings a help and a solution to the industry, that's huge. And that's why, I love my job. I do it every day with a smile on my face because of that. It's not really sales, it's solution providing. And I ask guys all the time, they'll come to me and be like, well, I buy X, Y, and Z maybe off Amazon or something. It's super cheap. Why would I switch to yours? It's more expensive. It's like, well, it is. But let me equate it this way. If you could buy a pallet of pavers for this price, or you could buy a pallet of pavers with the tool to install it that makes it go faster for this price, maybe it's a couple bucks more. Which one would you rather buy? And I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me they wouldn't buy the pallet with the tool over the regular pallet, right? And we know things are very hard to train on. You get those new helps, finding good labor is hard. So getting the help that comes to the job and having to train them on 50 things, if you can make one of those things easier to train on, I do it every day, right? That's the one thing that we want to make things efficient in our industry. And I tell guys the story, it actually happened to me. It's why I believe in it so much is I had high school help. He started on the first Monday of the summer, right? And I actually, as a business owner and 1,000 things going on, forgot that he was starting that day. And I didn't have anything planned out for him to train on. Luckily, he shows up to the job site that morning and I had like 20 lights to install. And I was like, look, bud, here's these lights. Here's the layout of where they all go. And I took 2 minutes to show him the connection system and how it works. And he's like, all right. I said, look, I have an hour and a half. I have to run and grab some material and I will be back. Try to get started on these and then I'll help you go through the rest of it. We'll train on some other stuff. Josh, I got back to the job site an hour and a half later, maybe 2 hours later, and he's cleaning the job trailer, right? He's sweeping out the job trailer. And I'm like, oh man, he didn't do anything I told him to do instantly. I just assumed. I get out of the truck and I'm like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, did you get those lights done? He's like, oh yeah, I had those done in like a half an hour, man. That was really easy. And I was like, well, let's go look at it. So we go walking and if he didn't knock it out of the park, man, it was insane. And it took my confidence as a business owner for him through the roof. It took his employee morale and his confidence through the roof. And it just made everything else that he had to learn more exciting. And it took his spirit through every job that we went to. He was actually begging to do the lights every time we did a job that summer because he knew how much fun and how easy it was to do it. So that's why for me to switch to Bolt, because, the days of cutting and splicing and having to go back and forth to the transformer to troubleshoot as you connect lights is now gone because everything's streamlined. Everything's simple in our system, from calculating what transformer you need to how many lights you can put on a line. And even our transformers now come with a little load setup on them. So it tells you exactly how full that transformer is while it's plugged in. If you have room to add on, or if you need to add another transformer, if you're doing another phase, it's very simplified. Even the calculations, we don't calculate with watts. We actually calculate with VAs, which is the volt amperage. And the difference between the two, watts is kind of like that idle power, right? If you equate it to cars, which a lot of guys in this industry are car people, right? Watts is basically how much fuel your vehicle uses while it's idling. But it doesn't take into consideration how much fuel it takes to start that system up and all the fuel it takes to fire up your engine. Whereas VAs take into consideration that inline rush when it powers that system up and it shoots that voltage through the system to really get it to jump on. And then it also calculates that idle power too. So that way, when I'm calculating a system, I don't have to find an 80% range for the watts. I can just fill it to 100% of the VAs. And then whenever I'm building out my system and I'm like, oh, I've got 10 cap lights at 1 VA a piece, there's 10 VA. So I know I've still got however much is left on that transformer to fill because it's very simple math. So we make everything a lot easier, from install to design to calculating and estimating the system. And that is why Bold for us.
Man. Wow. Okay. Well, you just solved a ton of problems that we always faced throughout the years, right? I'm like, holy moly, you've got built in that and you have a green light for that. And I'm thinking like, Man, because I remember sitting on the standing in front of the house, and I've got 50 lights to put together, and I've got to pull it out of the box. Then I got to take the bulb, put it in, fish the wires through, take the
Yep.
the screw gun or even a hand screwdriver and tighten them up with those little hook things on there, right? Then pull them out and then cut the band, pull out the wire, then pull it and cut the end if I need, like all of this kind of stuff. And it took a ton of time. It was my least favorite part of lighting. So I'm thinking like, holy moly, this is, for listeners out there, if you don't know this already, with our event, Outdoor Living Mastery, Bold Lighting has been one of our top sponsors here and continues to do that. They're pouring in a big way this year to come and bring all the lights to Outdoor Living Mastery, and we're so blessed to have them on board. Last year, you guys absolutely knocked it out of the park, especially that wall behind the pool. That was just, I walked out, I'm like, that is incredible. Like, I knew it was going to be cool, but I didn't think it was going to be that cool. I was like, so I can't wait to see what you guys do this year with the project, and awesome stuff. We love your products. So if listeners are out there thinking like, you know what, I'm willing to give another place a shot. I like the idea that it can save me a ton of time, and I can get people that don't have a ton of experience to install these correctly the first time. How can they find you?
So you guys can reach out to me directly. We're on Instagram. You can find us at Bold Pros. I'm also on Instagram at boldpros_Lee. You can always reach out to me, lee@boldpros.com, or just find us on the website, boldpros.com as well. We are coast to coast, north to south in North America here. So we're always willing to reach out, come out, do trainings. And me personally, one of the reasons why I love the Outdoor Living Mastery is because as a previous contractor, there's only so many hours that I can sit in front of a computer before I have to get onto a job site. So for me, events like that, we're at a lot of them. We do a lot with a lot of vendors in the area, and Outdoor Living Mastery is one of our favorite times a year. Come out and spend a week, do some installs, train some guys, and just get out and have some fellowship with the industry, right? Meeting other contractors and other vendors alike is a lot of fun for us. And we try to be out and about as much as possible.
I appreciate it. I certainly appreciate you guys continuing to support our mission. And we love seeing the lights come on literally when they're watching how you guys are putting the stuff together. They're like, whoa, it's that easy. Yeah, right. And that's why I wanted to bring you guys, bring the listeners, you guys today, and to have this conversation. Because I know most guys are using lighting. It seems to be more and more prevalent throughout the industry, but there's still some that are trying to get the Amazon lighting, the cheaper stuff, and that takes a ton of time. And, if you're a listener out there and you find yourself, your guys are out there spending way too much time doing this, well, now we got to think about options that may cost just a little bit more on the front side, but that'll help the entire process. And if you're getting a 7-year warranty on this stuff and they're making it easy, why wouldn't you do it? So
absolutely.
Lee, do you have anything on your mind that you want to say before we wrap up?
If you guys haven't signed up for the Outdoor Living Mastery, I definitely recommend it. As a contractor, I didn't have as many of those tools local to me, but now that the Outdoor Living Mastery is a buy, and we've been at it for a couple years now, seeing the value that you can get to get around other contractors, other vendors, and guys that have been doing it for maybe years more than you have, and just really getting to understand and know the people and products that you have around you. And the install knowledge that comes with that week. I definitely recommend it. If you can carve the time out to do it, sign up, get out there, find events in your area if there's not one local to you, and come find out what all you can learn about the industry. Trade shows are great, but you don't get the hands-on experience that you do at something like Outdoor Living Mastery. And the food's good too, if I can throw that cue in there, because there's always great food out there.
It is pretty good, isn't it?
But
something about that Lancaster County cooking.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It's my favorite place to go for it. So.
Yeah. Lee, I appreciate you coming on today and sharing your wisdom. Listeners out there, if you want to take a look at what they're doing over at Bold, it's boldpros.com. Did I get that right, Lee?
Yes, sir.
So boldpros.com. And if you want to take a look at our event.
Yep. Outdoor Living Mastery.
Perfect. And then also... Yeah, outdoorlivingmastery.com.
Yeah, and that's in February, so it'll be a great time of year to get out and learn some more, and we're looking forward to it, Josh. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on today. And listeners, I hope you learned a lot today. We went through, why you should add lights to your design, even if they weren't discussed with your client. Also, how to get your client's jaws to drop with that simple lighting trick, lighting up the perimeter, focusing those lights, being more purposeful with exactly what you're doing, not just throwing lights around so they have some light in the backyard. There's an entire, thought and strategy to all this. And the guys over at Bold will help you with that. Based on what I've seen them do already, you'd be crazy not to at least have them come out and show you demos and those kinds of things. Also, how to get referrals after you've already sold your lights. And that's by keeping that lighting package running at its absolute top. So Lee, thanks for coming on here, and listeners, we'll see you next week.